In 1984, Charlie Reese of the Orlando Sentinel wrote the following, still true today. 100 senators, 435 congressmen, 1 president, and 9 Supreme Court justices equates to 545 human beings out of 300 million who are directly, legally, morally, and individually responsible for the domestic problems that plague this country. I excluded the members of the Federal Reserve Board because that problem was created by Congress. In 1913, Congress delegated its constitutional duty to provide a sound currency to a federally chartered but private central bank. I excluded all the special interests and lobbyists for a sound reason. They have no legal authority. They have no ability to coerce a senator, a congressman, or a president to do one cotton-picking thing. I don't care if they offer a politician $1 million in cash. The politician has the power to accept or reject it. No matter what the lobbyist promises, it is the legislator's responsibility to determine how he votes. Those 545 human beings spend much of their energy convincing you that what they did is not their fault. They cooperate in this common con, regardless of party. It seems inconceivable to me that a nation of 300 million cannot replace 545 people who stand convicted by present facts of incompetence and irresponsibility. I can't think of a single domestic problem that is not traceable directly to those 545 people. When you fully grasp the plain truth that 545 people exercise the power of the federal government, then it must follow that what exists is what they want to exist. If the tax code is unfair, it's because they want it unfair. If the budget is in the red, it's because they want it in the red. If the Army and Marines are in Iraq and Afghanistan, it's because they want them in Iraq and Afghanistan. If they do not receive Social Security, but are on an elite retirement plan not available to the people, it's because they want it that way. There are no insoluble government problems. Do not let these 545 people shift the blame to bureaucrats, whom they hire and whose jobs they can abolish, to lobbyists whose gifts and advice they can reject, to regulators to whom they give the power to regulate and from whom they can take this power. Above all, do not let them con you into the belief that there exists disembodied mystical forces like the economy, inflation, or politics that prevent them from doing what they take an oath to do. Those 545 people, and they alone, are responsible. They and they alone have the power. They and they alone should be held accountable by the people who are their bosses, provided the voters have the gumption to manage their employees.
Everybody knows something's going on. There's just some of us who have a much better knowledge of what's going on than others. But, the reality is that America is an occupied country. Our savior is not going to be somebody who's popular, who's rich, who is successful in the ways of the world right now, whether it's Elon Musk or whether it's Donald Trump. A politician is not going to save us. We need to start realizing that we are the answer to these problems. In essence, America has become a nation of cowards who will only tell you what they believe if they can get 3 forms of verification that you agree with them. And this is not the country that our founders established, and it certainly isn't the way they established it. And until we start to stand up for our own beliefs and principles and not rely on these manufactured heroes, these superheroes that are given to us by the media, well, then we're never going to fix the problem. Tyranny is not coming. It is already here. AI is just simply another weapon in the toolbox of those who seek to control the world. And that's all it is. I mean, the reality is that they want way fewer of us, but they know that they like all the things that we contribute to the world, and so they have to have some type of replacement, and AI is one of those replacements. And they've told us that this is what they want through the dystopic pre-programming of Minority Report and, Total Recall. I mean, you ask kids and they're like, yeah, no, I'm good with that. If I could just be in the video game all day long with the woman in red, I'm fine with that. And this is the problem. This is why there's no will and no appetite for liberties. The true threat is the institutional information dominance that has led multiple generations into believing these massive lies and being okay with them. This is the problem, that people have been conditioned and uneducated and miseducated into not even caring. You have confused women because there's no men. You have confused men because they've been bashed by a society, right? Then you have our kids being, it is such a mess. And for the most part, people are okay with it. And to be honest, I think this country might be like a addict. But until you hit rock bottom, you're not going to change. And I'm afraid that that's where we are. It might take the spiraling into complete tyranny and totalitarianism in order for people to say, oh my gosh, we've got to do something. We're not going to change things by voting in rigged elections, by suing in corrupt courts, and by hashtagging on censored media. What is it going to take to get Americans in the street? Apparently, they might never end up in the street. I mean, hell, we might be all dead from nuclear war and cricket before anybody ever gets in the streets. If we're going to survive this tyranny, if we're going to recapture America, because our republic's way, way far gone, and we're going to have to proselytize around liberty. And that is how unconventional warfare works. My God, America is a third world country that has to be recaptured under the banner of liberty. And it's going to be a lot of work. And we have to first start by identifying that the work needs to be done. No one wants to care about January 6th descendants or Jeremy Brown or this kid in Connecticut, right? But now that it's happened to Trump, now everybody cares, right? And see, we're never going to win that way. Why has it taken years and something happening to a single man who had the ability? I mean, he has billions of dollars. He could pay for all the January 6th defendants' legal fees. He told my elderly mother at Mar-a-Lago to her face, if I'm elected, I'll pardon your son. This is why I'm critical of President Trump. That's sacrosanct, right? You can't be, if you're critical of President Trump, you might as well be in the deep state. But see, that's the mindset that is plaguing this country right now. That is the two-party duopoly, the tyranny of two choices, psychological warfare that has been overlaid into the American psyche. It's not about one man. That this has been happening to Americans for years, and why hasn't that upset us? What these politicians do is not service. Service is giving of yourself, not making yourself rich. Nobody cares. I mean, nobody likes it when I say standing armies are unconstitutional. This is the massive standing army military-industrial complex that the Constitution prohibits and that the founders feared, and yet you can't say that today because everyone thinks that a standing army has just been around ever since the Constitution. No. In fact, I think it was until World War I. Everything is completely out of whack because nobody knows anything about anything. Everybody needs to start paying attention to observations and making their own conclusions.